My name's Jill Rowe, and in this episode of the Different Podcast, I talk with Steve Chalke about the questions we ask trying to find home. We discuss those searching questions that have been asked for thousands of years, questions of human longing. Am I of worth? Do I matter? Is there a God, and does that God love me? We recognise just how important it is to stop and notice these curious longings when we are experiencing them. We get on to Maslow and try to debunk some of the misunderstandings and misconceptions about what Maslow said and believed, and we talk about the 4 S's: seen, safe, soothed and secure, and how these reflect the deep questions we have. And we look to the story of the Prodigal Son that Jesus told, where we see how important it is to come to our senses and see where and what home actually is. Steve, it's nice to see you today.
And you, Jill, you're looking very well, if you don't mind me saying.
Well,
very smart.
I've got my spring jacket on.
Ah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Green jacket.
Green jacket for spring.
Absolutely.
Actually, since last time we've been together, spring has definitely sprung, hasn't it? All over the place. It's amazing.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is a beautiful thing.
I was going to ask you on a score of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
How's your day been?
I've had the kind
10 is amazing.
Yeah.
1 is
right
tricky.
Can I do less than 1? Kind of like. Do you know, I came here for this and I didn't even notice the green in the trees, though it is beautiful when you see it, isn't it? You know, I love spring when the when the leaves start poking through and it all happens so quickly, doesn't it? But my day today has been absolutely grinding. Yeah. Many of them are, aren't they? That's how days go.
Yeah.
It's just the work we've got to do. So it's a joy to be here.
So this can be a moment of relief.
Yeah, a
Hopefully.
moment of spring, metaphorically as well as literally outside.
So in a really light segue, have you will have noticed this because you talk about this in your book, Being Human, how built into so many of the questions that people ask you, or even today I've been in conversations with people, and the questions that people ask are what I would call fundamental questions of human longing. So they're questions of, am I of value? Am I of worth? Is there a God? Is there something more than this?
Who notices me?
Yeah. Do I matter in the world?
Is my life worth it?
Yeah. So they feel like they're fundamental questions. And I was talking to a friend of ours the other week, and she was describing a piece of work she does with students in one of our schools. And she gets the students to write down what's their big question. And they're always those questions. And they're the questions that people have asked for millennia, haven't they? Do I matter?
Yeah, the questions that humans ask. And of course, as many times as you've been through it and answered the questions, then it springs up again, doesn't it? So you suddenly find in a day or an evening sometimes, you suddenly feel like a lack of peace or unattuned or whatever. And if you try to push out of it, and ignore it, etc., but you don't feel right in yourself.
Yeah.
And then you need to stop and notice that I'm wondering how I fit, and I'm wondering who I am, and I'm wondering whether I'm too old, or I'm wondering whether I'm past it, or I'm wondering whether I'm irrelevant or not fast enough or bright enough or whatever it might be. Kind enough, all of those things.
Yeah, that's why I like the word. I know we talk about the word dis-ease when we're thinking about being ill, but if you just dis-ease, I'm not at ease with that can be a condition, can't it, for many people? You, and as you say, it comes and goes. And
and the worst thing to do is to ignore it and try. It's better to confront. That's how I'm feeling, and I do feel like this sometimes.
Yeah.
And I go through these valleys.
Yeah.
And I recognize these thoughts and feelings. And then just to think through again, like I feel like this tonight or today, but tomorrow something will happen and I'll feel in a different mood. That is, of course, as long as you are working to a place where you're asking yourself in a productive sense, what's my meaning? What's my purpose? Where do I fit in?
Tell me
what's
about
my goal?
Tell me about the Maslow thing, because you really talk about that, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Being human.
Yeah, well, Abraham Maslow had that hierarchy, Maslow's hierarchy that everyone talks about, and it's got 5 layers in his pyramid, basically. And you start off, with the basic needs of life: food, water, air, etc. And then Maslow said, and when you have those, you progress to the next layer, and the next layer of needs. And when you've satisfied that, you the next layer and the next layer. And he said the pinnacle at layer 5 is what he called self-actualization.
Yeah.
So you've got your food and your water and your air sorted out, and then you search for deeper things in life, and where do I fit in, and all of this kind, and safety, etc. And then you work up to this place where you're complete with what he called self-actualization. And he said that's the pinnacle of life, when you are self-actualized, when you...
It's the goal.
Yeah, you aim at that. But whereas all Maslow's hierarchy pyramids I ever see in books, they're all that 5-layer thing. And you can go to educational conferences and psychological conferences, and they all talk about reaching this place of self-actualization. Whereas in actual fact, in the last years of his life, Maslow said, no, this doesn't work. There's a 6th level. In fact, he said, I'm not even sure whether it fits in. And it's not self-actualization. It's beyond all. It's beyond all of that. It's the place when you recognize that there's something greater than who you are, and you give yourself to that. Yeah. And he said that is real meaning of life, when you get past your little self. Yeah. And he called it self-transcendence, when you transcend your own needs and you see that there are bigger things at stake. Yeah. He died a few years later, a couple of years later. He wrote about this at some length, but he never found a way of integrating it into his triangle, And the reason for that, I think, and this is on to what I think now, he never integrated it into his triangle. And people say it's because he ran out of time. But I think it's because it just doesn't fit at all.
Doesn't fit the triangle.
It doesn't fit. So I meet people, I guess we all do, who've reached a place of self-transcendence. They give themselves to others, but they've not been through all these other stages. Not all of their needs have been met. They don't feel safe, etc., etc. In fact, you meet some people who, because of their poverty, not saying that poverty is a good thing, or the circumstances in which they've lived a persecuted life, etc., etc., they reach a place of self-transcendence and self-giving. Yeah. You meet people all the time who the very pain of life has shifted them away from themselves into giving themselves from others. So they've not been through the rest of the thing. They just skipped it.
So it's not like this neat, it's not a process, is it?
No, it's not a process. And you meet people who get stuck on the self-actualization bit, but they're nowhere near a transcendence place in life.
That sense of there's something more than me, there's something outside of
something bigger than me.
Who I am.
Yeah. In fact, a cynical person might say the world is run by people who've got stuck in self-actualization and haven't learned to transcend their own needs for power,
ego,
etc., etc., and give themselves to others.
Which is that thing that can happen and it happens to all of us in some way in our journey in life, doesn't it? Where we seek that external affirmation. So it's all about my ego needs to be affirmed by the property I have, or the house I have, or the wealth I have, or the connections I have, the power I have. And like you say,
the partner I have,
goodness
the
me,
clothes I wear.
Yeah. All of that stuff, which is all external.
Yeah. The title I've got, all of those things, they're all external things, but they can't cover up for what's missing, which Maslow came to.
Yeah.
Self-transcendence. When you get beyond yourself, he said, that is what life's about. And it's incredible, isn't it? Not only that he said this, but he came to it late in his life.
Yeah.
When he came to a place where he was no longer impressed by his own pyramid, however famous it was, because he knew in his own life there was something beyond being known. He became a very famous man, of course, but he realized there was something beyond all of this for him, and he talks about that. And of course, that's the reality. Now, to talk about somebody else, a famous psychologist by the name of Dan Siegel, one of the best kind of psychotherapists, I suppose, best known psychotherapists in the world. Dan Siegel came up with what he called the 4 S's.
Absolutely.
And I'll leave you to talk about them a bit because I know that you've done some real thinking around this. But Dan Siegel, who works out of he works out of Boston. You know, he's based in one of the big universities there. He said, when you don't come to terms, when you don't experience these 4 S's in your life as a child, you don't develop properly. And the 4 S's, I'll say what they are and then you talk about them, are that first one, that you should feel safe. That you come to a place where you feel safe. You come to a place where you feel seen. You come to a place where you feel secure, and you come to a place or experience being soothed when you can't control yourself. When you're struggling with your own emotions, you're soothed. If you feel safe, if you feel seen, if you experience security, feel secure in the relationships that you have, parental relationships, for instance, that you've got, and you feel soothed when you're struggling, then that creates, said Dan Siegel, this wonderful base for life, where you can leave behind all the things that clutter up some people's lives, and you can reach that place where you transcend. You're free to transcend your own needs because they've been met. You're secure in yourself, and you can give yourself to others.
Yeah, and I think that, so for me, and it's our friend and colleague Jane Sargent, isn't it, who is really helping us with this. But the more I listen in Oasis to Jane talk to us about this, and that sense of you feel safe when you know you're in a dynamic where you're not going to be shamed, you're not going to be ridiculed, you're not going to be judged, you're going to be accepted for who you are. Your story of who you are isn't going to be something that's going to be picked on or pointed out or highlighted. And then seen, you know, that moment where you walk into a room and someone just, it's great. I'm really glad you're here. How did you get on at the weekend? Because they've remembered something about your story or something that's happened to you that really matters. Being seen like that makes an individual, it makes me feel, when that happens, blimey, I feel valued in this space. And it's from that, like you say, from that foundation. And then soothed, I love hearing Jane use this phrase about this bit, which is when you can, like, if I'm with you, then there's that dynamic of I can borrow your calm to help me calm, and
when
vice
I feel
versa.
Overwhelmed, the
so you can
calmness
regulate, and I think that's such a gift, isn't it? And then you're secure enough to thrive. And what I think is interesting to me is that those 4 S's, seen, safe, soothed, and secure, those are the questions of human longing, aren't they? Those are back to those questions we ask. And we will seek to answer those questions, but it may be unhealthily. So we may pursue the ego, the fast car, the big house,
I was talking to somebody just earlier today who they've reached a place of knowing of themselves. They are trying to please their mother. The problem is their mother's been dead for about 25 years. And they know that they can't please their mother, but they can't help themselves as forever try in this vain attempt to be what their mother was acceptable to her, and they get caught in it time and time again. They get caught in it, and what their relationship with their mum did to them is it spoke to them of their inadequacy. They were never ever quite what their mother wanted them to be, and she made that clear. So they feel inadequate because they never felt safe or secure or seen or soothed for who they were. They are in this desperate ongoing attempt, which they recognise but still struggle to overcome, to impress their mum, impress their mother, who was never impressed.
And impressing can take a whole load of forms. Can't it? And so the only way to freedom is, in the end, well, it's like, trauma that you don't deal with deals with you. It always does, comes back and bites you. The only way is to, back to where we started, instead of pushing away those feelings of, where do I fit? I don't feel quite right. I don't feel at peace. I'm not attuned. I'm feeling odd and awkward. To explore them and deal with them, and you slowly move on from them as you come to recognise them. I know you shouldn't say this, but one of Donald Trump's favourite put-downs everyone would have heard it, is he says to people, "You're a loser." He's a loser. One of Donald's relatives has written about Donald Trump's childhood and just said Donald's father always called him a loser. You're always compensating for the gap there was, for the loss there was. In the story of the Prodigal Son, which is a story that Jesus told, there's this moment in the story which is like the flip, where it just goes, and he came to his senses. So in the story, the son asks for the inheritance, goes off, just says it's a distant land, seeks all that external affirmation to answer the human longing, to be seen, to be safe, soothed in unhealthy ways. And then self-actualization. And then this moment where it just says coming to his senses, he thought, if I can just get back to my father, then I can be a servant. So even in that moment, he'd not quite nailed in his understanding what the father was like in the story, but he came to his senses because he suddenly realized this isn't working. And,
from self-actualization to self-transcendence, slowly to the truth poking through, and you begin to see there's something more important than me. And actually, what's more important to me is going home to my father and apologising and recognising that I'm his son and asking if I can serve.
And so that, which is that human longing for home that everybody has all the time. Do I matter? Am I worth it? Do I count? All of those things are all to my, as I listen to those questions, they're like, can I find home? Will I be safe in home? And so that moment of like a transformational dilemma exists for every human, doesn't it? Don't you? But it can happen. I mean, I guess for some people it just never happens, but for some people they're very old, like Maslow was old.
And I've noticed, so as I've journeyed through life, some people look for home in all the wrong places or in dangerous places. And then they stick with a dangerous situation or a dangerous relationship because it's the best closest thing to home that they know, even though it's harming them.
Yeah.
So it's hard to step away from even that, because it seems like a bit of normality and anchor, when in actual fact it's hugely destructive.
Yeah.
So to prize, well, you can't
really
prize
hard.
a person away. That person needs to come to their own understanding that the place I'm in, that I've got used to calling home, isn't home at all. It's a place of danger. They need to make that decision for themselves. I was talking to someone very recently about this, who said to me, "Tell me what to do." And I said, "I won't, because if I do, you'll be doing a thing because I said do it. And when it gets tough, you'll blame me. It has to come from inside you. If you know you're marooned,
then you
in
act.
your best moments, set out for home."
Yeah. That's so true.
You have to take that step for yourself.
Can you think of, because I can think of a particular moment when my mum died. That was a what I would call a transformational dilemma moment for me, because I think, I mean, I was young, so I was at early mid-20s, but I think it was at a point where I was starting to make decisions about what's the next step with my future. Do I go down the deputy headship thing and with school and all of it? And then obviously I met you and blah, blah, blah.
Sorry about that.
29 years on, here I am.
Screwed it up.
No, it's great. But the transformational dilemma was when you losing my mum dying of cancer, all the things that felt certain and safe and secure were no longer certain, safe and secure. So you had to find, it propelled me to needing to locate and find home in a different place, in a different space. But like you say, it's like you have to go there in order to get away from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. This is about the third time I've said this in this last few minutes. But actually, I was talking to someone else just at the weekend, I'm not sure, a few days ago. And he has just lost his father. And he's really struggling. And we sat and had a long conversation together. And he said, "Do you know, Steve, I've realised something." He said, "I've reached this place where I'm scared. I'm not really mourning my father at all. I'm mourning for my new awareness of my own mortality." And I said, "Oh."
There you go.
I said, "That's what happened to me." I told him that's what happened to me when my dad died.
Yeah.
My dad died years ago, and it knocked me for six for months and months and months and months. And I explained to him that I slowly came to the realization that my dad had died, and I grieved for that. But I slowly realized that I was grieving for that stupid sense of being immortal.
Yeah.
Because once my dad had died, I was the oldest male in our family. And then I realised, wow, it's me. I'm on this pathway, this roadway too. Yeah. And so you have to come to terms with what do I really care about in life, and what anchors me, and how do I want to spend these years that, if I've got years ahead of me, how do I want to spend them? So you're back to this self, because you built your thing on yourself. You come back to this thing of transcending yourself, rather than, hey, my life's about self-actualization, what I drive and what I, who I have around me, and etc. All of those superficial things. Yeah. Move on. I said to him something that I've learned over the years in talking to people, because he said, this is, it's like what you're saying is tempting it's helping me to change my thinking. And I said to him, well, that's the point. I said, I've learned over the years, my job isn't to change anyone's thinking, because he saw me as his counsellor.
Yeah.
My job isn't to change anyone's thinking. I can't change your mind.
No.
All I can do in this conversation with you is give to you the tools, perhaps, to help you change your mind.
Thinking, yeah.
But it's you changing and moving forward. Yeah. That's the important thing. Yeah. And if you don't do the work, you get stuck. If I don't do the work on me, I get stuck.
Yeah. I love it that it's about coming to our senses. Richard Rowe calls it falling upward, doesn't he? It's that.
Yes.
Which is that thing of falling up into the realization of who we are, how we do fit, how we do have worth, how we do belong, how we do have this connection, if we are awake to it, of something bigger than us, something more than us, isn't it?
Which is probably a great place to finish, isn't it? The more you hang on, the more you lose. The more you let go and think you're falling, the more you inherit.
Yeah. Steve, thank you.